This new MGK album is not good. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time, MGK album. MGK, rapper, singer, songwriter, multi-genre phenomenon. He is back with his 7th full-length LP, Lost Americana. A project that, believe it or not, I did actually have like a modicum of hope going into this one, mostly because it seemed like a chance at something new, something different, the dawn of a new era, because MGK over the years has made many a rap record, and I have not enjoyed a single one. He also had, a little stint with pop punk as well. Didn't like those either. But now with this new one, he's trying something else, as forecast by songs like Cliché, that really go overtly in a pop direction. And miraculously, he also had a little bit of an album trailer for this record, narrated by none other than Bob fucking Dylan, that kind of built the album up to be this expression of, American wonder and, like a rebel attitude and that sort of thing. But like actually going and listening to the album, I didn't really get any of that. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say about this record other than that it just feels like a bunch of boring, overproduced, mid-paced pop rock, a lot of which borrows directly from radio hits of the 90s, maybe a bit too directly at points. And there's not really much to say about the album outside of that. I mean, as I was saying with the instrumentation and the production, it kind of loses any bit of flavor or excitement it has pretty fast. I feel weird almost saying here that the pop punk influences on MGK's last couple of records comparatively were a bit more thrilling, and that realization comes pretty quickly on the opening track, Outlaw Overture, where by the end of the song, the touched up lead vocals, the roaring guitars, the pounding loud but simultaneously stiff and boring drum beats all kind of culminate in the most blaring but bland wall of sound. Then after that, there's Cliché, which I mentioned earlier, which again does see MGK going in a pop direction, but once again, this is like another genre, another sound that MGK is trying his hand at, and yet kind of proves to be just not his strong suit. Not only because I don't think MGK's flat, lifeless, near expressionless pop punk vocal affectation really fits on top of an instrumental like this, lends itself to something that should be more melodic, should be more expressive, but also the songwriting is hella derivative as well, as a lot of the chords and melodies on this thing sound like a near copy of Eagle Eye Cherries, and I would much rather listen to that song. Deeper into the record, we have more performative and underwhelming expressions of just how bad of a guy MGK is, how much of, again, he is a rebel. Whether it's on Don't Wait, Run Fast, where he's singing at the top of his lungs about being pulled over for driving over 100 miles an hour, or Goddamn, which is a kind of spotlit acoustic ballad where MGK is kind of waxing poetic about all the wasted years in his life and being a functional junkie, essentially. Also talking about how he swears too much. Fuck yeah. But again, all of these surface level nods really never dig into anything deeper or darker or more personal. We get more of a thorough character portrait on tracks like Vampire Diaries, for example. But as MGK tries to paint himself as kind of like a bad guy, a dark figure on this cut, he's just using some of the most corny and cliche imagery and references that you can possibly think of with respect to being a vampire. The midpoint of the album sees MGK delivering more pop rock instrumentals, and again, given just how uninspired and basic a lot of the instrumentation here is, it just makes me wonder why he even went in this direction. Like, at least when doing a bit of a pop punk thing and working with producers like Travis Barker, I feel like there was at least an accuracy there in terms of trying to capture a certain energy and essence. Whereas like the guitar and drum combo on Miss Sunshine sounds like what you would get from the YouTube stock music library if you were looking for something royalty free to play in the background of one of your videos. Meanwhile, Sweet Coraline feels like I'm listening to the start of like a really bad Matt and Kim song. With Indigo, MGK takes us in what's essentially a rap monologue, trying to narrate his existence in this like kind of melodramatic Mike Shinoda sort of way. And after that, things shockingly get even more derivative, as the song Starman just kind of features a straight up interpolation of Third Eye Blind's Semi-Charmed Kind of Life, and not a very good one at that. But what's even weirder is the song Can't Stay Here, which feels like a near interpolation of a couple of different 90s radio hits, because there are moments where the guitars on this track feel like they're being borrowed straight up from the Goo Goo Dolls' Iris, but then certain vocal lines that crop up feel borrowed from Semisonic's Closing Time. And then, as if the Goo Goo Dolls' influence wasn't already apparent on Treading Water, there on this track, the vocal melodies feel borrowed from Iris from Goo Goo Dolls. I don't know why MGK put 2 tracks on this album back to back that feel like they're borrowing so overtly from the same song, the same moody 90s rock hit song. Tell Me What's Up sees MGK doing some bars once again and giving us some Linkin Park vibes. There are some hilarious standout bars on this track, like one where he's talking about having Viking blood coursing through his veins, and that's why all of his enemies have been thwarted. I mean, Killshot did happen. We do remember that. That is a thing we remember. To close up shop, Orpheus is a super emotional piano ballad closer, but given just how corny the track list has been up until this point, this moment is just so unearned. You know, it's funny, my expectations going into this record weren't high. They were not high at all. What I was really hoping for was an album that at the very least like wouldn't be offensively bad, wouldn't be disappointing, wouldn't be terrible, but Lost Americana couldn't even deliver on that front. Like, it couldn't even meet or surpass that very low standard. And by comparison, I actually think Mainstream Sellout is a better project, because at least there we're hearing songs that are performatively edgy, written and performed in a pop punk context where like that kind of messaging and lyricism makes a bit more sense. Because like right now with this record, when MGK is not doing that, all he's really left with at this point is like some faux moody rap tracks and a bunch of like stale 90s post-grunge sad boy butt rock. And his songwriting on that front is so cliche and so uninspired that when he goes in this direction, it just sounds like a near carbon copy of his most obvious influences from that era. And in addition to all of that, like this whole idea of this album speaking to something greater than MGK himself, capturing or, exemplifying the idea of Lost Americana, it definitely falls short of that by a big, fat, wide, gigantic, Grand Canyon-sized margin. Because, yeah, this record isn't really speaking to anything greater than just itself. Which, like, it is fine. There's nothing saying that artists have to do that, but that's not how this record was originally being pitched. There's like nothing America or Americana in any way about the sound or the messaging of this record, and even the elements of the writing on this record that signal like, traditional badass American rebel just fall so flat, feel so shallow, and are just not captivating at all. So yeah, unfortunately, this new MGK record, it's not good.